I'm here to speak for Sir Walter Loxley.
Speak, if you must.
If you're trying to build for the future, you must set your foundations strong. The laws of this land enslave people to its king. A king who demands loyalty but offers nothing in return. You build a country like you build a cathedral, from the ground up. Empower every man, and you will gain strength.
I'm Jeff Marker here with Jonathan Hickman. We are outside of the Regal Theater in Atlantic Station.
Yeah, and then Atlantic Station is the place we just took in Robin Hood, where you can watch movies, you can shop and stuff, but every Thursday night they show a movie in their market area, and they have movies and the market. There are vendors, and it's a free movie, so I'm definitely going to come check it out. But we're gonna talk about Robin Hood tonight. Robin Hood is the big budget Ridley Scott, Russell Crowe, Cate Blanchett epic film that attempts to take the Robin Hood folklore of England and make it into something more than it is. The story is not the story that I think we've seen before. If you would believe the story in Robin Hood, this Ridley Scott movie, Robin attempted to free every man in England, and he was able to fend off an invasion from France. That's how big this movie and the story arc attempts to be. It starts in a far-off land where Robin is an archer under the command of Richard the Lionheart, and then he escapes there and comes back to England, and there's a whole lot of subplot going on, often involving the taxation issues, as well as a plot by France to invade England. This is ultimately a convoluted story, but one that attempts to be much bigger than even the folklore of Robin Hood itself.
So, did you like Robin Hood?
You know, I didn't hate it. The thing is, this is a movie that has a lot to like. It's an attempt to make the whole Robin Hood thing work for a summer popcorn crowd, and to that extent, I think it does. The problem is, of course, that, you know, Robin Hood purists, and there's got to be a whole lot of them out there, are going to really dislike the way they take this folklore and they change it so significantly.
Well, speaking of purists, I think anyone who knows even a little bit about English history is going to take issue with this movie too. Well, and it's yet another English movie that tries to sort of democratize England under a king, which just never works for me. They make it all about liberty, which I think is a tough sell.
Well, and that's okay. I think if you're going to buy into a fantasy, why not go all the way? The problem with this narrative is, if you believe it, and this is almost the Oliver Stone kind of approach to, and it's hard to say that Robin Hood's history, it's folklore after all. If you believe this, there was an opportunity under Robin Hood to basically free all of England. And I think that the story overreaches quite a bit.
Yeah, hugely. To me, it was very frustrating. I came in, I told you beforehand, I was not looking forward to this at all. And then I sort of bought in, and then I thought it became laughable by the third act. We laughed at it.
Yeah, and you know, it's okay. I guess this is PG-13. It's not a hard PG-13. But from the very beginning, anyone who understands that Robin Hood is sort of an urban legend or a myth, it's hard to buy anything that's going on. Right.
It really becomes Gladiator for a while, then Saving Private Ryan for a while, if you can believe that.
They try on many different narratives.
They really, really do. You get lost in all the references, I guess. Now, there are some great actors in this movie. What do you think of the performances?
Well, Cate Blanchett opens the movie, which I thought was an interesting decision. Instead of a big action sequence, we get an introduction to Maid Marian in a way that sort of depicts her as a sort of a rural, tough woman, and that's great. But I don't know that audiences are going to warm up to that character as the movie progresses. Certainly, as the third act sort of makes, I don't know, it is kind of laughable.
Yeah, and one very positive thing, in my opinion, that's worth mentioning is that Max von Sydow, I'm not sure how old he is at this point, but even at his age, he's still stealing movies.
Oh, yeah.
I thought he was by far the strongest performance in the whole film.
We've seen him in so many big movies, dating back obviously to Bergman and all of that, right?
Right.
Yeah. And so, you know, he's just an amazing actor, and it's great to see that they put him in such a movie.
Right. Yeah, and he still fits. I mean, it really, at his age, he could be off in retirement under the sun or hobbling through some roles weekly, but he's still strong.
And we could have used more of him in this movie. Jeff, from a filmmaking standpoint, I know you teach filmmaking, this is really a handsome film, and it's very high-end filmmaking on every level. Were there aspects that you would tell your students to sort of, you know, look to, and there's a lot of vintage Ridley Scott here, too.
Yeah, that's the thing. Ridley Scott, to me, has never been very strong on character, but his movies always look fantastic. With this, you know, he does a good job of using at least mostly natural light in artificial light that looks natural, you know, and so he stays within the period very well, and yet it still looks slick like most of his movies do. It's not, you know, Robin Hood meets Blade Runner or something like that. But you know, I'll praise this movie for some things that it doesn't do. Sometimes Ridley Scott falls into the, you know, shaky cam, fast cutting, and you know that actually makes people nauseous at times. And he didn't try to go
Absolutely
there. So
not.
I thought it was a restrained style for the most part. Yeah, I thought the action sequences looked very good, even if they were ripped off from other movies.
The ironic thing here is that Ridley Scott is spoofing himself over and over again. I mean, there are shades of Gladiator in this film.
Lots.
And so, you know, it's impossible not to make the comparison.
Well, this really felt like patchwork to me. You know, I even leaned over to you at one point and said, "Oh, it's that scene."
Right.
You know, you just sort of know what's coming
That's true.
next. They bounce back and forth from something you haven't quite seen that draws you back into something that you've seen 100 times and pushes you right back away. So to me, it was a very frustrating movie.
Well, and frustrating is the word of the evening. When you mentioned that to me, I said, yeah, that's absolutely true. The romance, the chemistry didn't seem to really work.
Between Russell Crowe and Cate Blanchett, by the way, two tremendous actors. When you can't buy that you're in love with Cate Blanchett, you're really not earning your money.
Yeah,
Sorry, Mr. Crowe.
And she's good in the role.
Yeah.
I mean, she's got a lot of spunk. She's a very physically intimidating woman too, and I think that they make a good match. She's very angular. He's more like a marshmallow type guy, and although muscular. And I think they could really hit it off on screen, but it was a miss here.
The geometry of love.
Yeah, that's right. That's totally right.
Well, are you coming or not?
Ask me nicely.
Please, dear husband, will you share my chamber?
So, is it safe to say that neither one of us got our fix from Robin Hood?
I didn't. I really wanted to. At a certain point, they kind of sold me, and then they just slowly lost me until by the end, I really didn't care much at all.
I didn't get my fix, but there's a lot to like about Robin Hood, but a lot of it's technical, and certainly the characters are I don't think, very good, and the story is just so strange. It's a combination of so many different folklores. It expands the narrative too much. I just can't really recommend it.
None shall pass unless they can answer the riddle.
Moon mad. And what is the riddle, you insolent wretch?
What has 18 legs and isn't going anywhere?
Your next move will be your last.
Evening, friend.
I demand to know who you are.
We are men of the hood. Merry now at your expense.
Thanks for watching the Film Fix this week, and remember, you can always join us on the web by going to dailyfilmfix.com, where you can feed your movie addiction.